something that's attempting to be connected. Or maybe it's just a showboating. Maybe it's just all performative.
Again.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Oh, we are.
Yeah, but they could see this. They could see this from the air.
Why, Elias? I need you to just focus on just running the show and not focus on anything else, because we just dropped again.
Okay, we're live again.
Are we?
Yeah.
On the same link?
Well, Sean,
okay.
You were in the military. You do a little investigation to find out where's the focus of the operation. You figure, is anybody out there guarding, and then you put troops in strategic locations to make sure people can't run away. And then you go, okay, now here's your opportunity to come out with your hands up. If you don't, it'll get worse for you. And to just go in there and roll over. This was 250 acres filled with hundreds of, structures, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. I mean, they don't find these up north because they're smaller. This is down the middle of the desert, and there's nothing else there. But what is this? It's not a hobo encampment. It's an illegal grow operation. It's not hard to figure that one out just by doing a little sub rosa around the facility. And in the military, you don't go in with 10,000 troops when there's 100 guys there. Just don't. It's a waste.
Right.
There's no cameras watching you. It seems like it was a PR stunt to me.
Exactly. Like, there are rules for proportionality, and we're not seeing any rules for proportionality being applied. And now I have to say, I am not a law enforcement officer. Proportionality applies to the law of combat. But I would imagine if it's applicable to combat, maybe we should incorporate it here. And then the other question is, what is all this PR for? Because we are seeing these big raids in states like New York. We just had one. We talked about it a few days ago in Texas, also DEA involvement, and now California. So they're hitting regions. What is really going on? There's something else coming. If you're doing this much PR ahead of time, something else is on the way.
Well, California is a target. I mean, we're a sanctuary state, and it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out you're going to find undocumented workers on these farms. You're going to find them there. So if that's the basis for going in, I mean, Sean, I've represented a lot of cops in my day, and there is a rule of proportionality. If you come in with guns ablazing, you're going to get sued. You're going to have a lot of trouble. So they don't do it either. They read Sun Tzu. They give people an opportunity for, you can walk away from this with little to no harm. Otherwise, you're going to die. So figure out what you want to do and come out with your hands up. And that is the law enforcement approach. This seems like a semi-militarized approach for PR. And California's illegal cannabis operations are off the chart. And so I can see where they want to come in. But you don't have to do this with all the cameras watching and all the military and bring in the National Guard and all that kind of shit, unless get there and somebody starts shooting back. And then you have a contingency plan. You have plan B. But you don't need this. But I think it's Washington directed, and they will, send in the troops if they need to with the cameras to show we're doing something about this. But you're right. I don't know what the next phase is, because rescheduling is stuck. It's not going anywhere. I don't know whether they're going to try to deschedule this, but there's a lot of people stuck in illegal activities. And if you're not under the Rohrabacher protection, and you're just a federal criminal, and they can come after you, and I'll tell you, the penalties are draconian. You don't want to be wrapped up in this shit.
And then the one last question, maybe not specific to this grow, but I think one other question that folks are curious about is some of these people who are being raided, not in this case, I don't know anyone in this case, but in other cases, they're saying that plants are they're not in veg state. Like there's no bud. They're not, they're in early stages. So wouldn't that be hemp?
Well, no, I mean,
You're getting technical, Sean.
Yeah.
Depends who you ask.
I mean, so could they raid a hemp farm?
Well, really.
Same thing?
I think you would agree with this one, Nate. I think it would depend on what testing lab you use to test those plants.
In some cases, yeah, but I mean, to Sean's point, at that point, it's all THCA product.
We're going back to.
So if it's early stage, then you could argue that the total THC is below 0.3%, and if it is in one way or another, THCA seems to be afforded certain protections, and all of the cannabis that's on the plant is going to be in THCA form. Even if one lab versus another was to see different amounts, that would be a whole different thing, would actually be crossing over and like not detecting chemical profiles and chemicals correctly. So like THCA is THCA. Some people might say there's 30%, some people might say there's 20, but still it's THCA. On that note, yeah, maybe if somebody was clever, I even jokingly said this last week when somebody came up with the notion of getting busted at their operation in Michigan. And I said, man, the timing on this is unfortunate because they may as well have just said that it's all hemp product, right? I do know that for hemp farms, when it comes to the state and most states' agricultural departments who are at least semi friendly towards cannabis or hemp, most hemp farms do actually need to be registered with the state. That would be California, for instance. Here, you need to be registered with the Department of Agriculture. Department of Agriculture will actually visit you as an industrial hemp, is their designation, as an industrial hemp operation. Interestingly enough, in that sense, you're only needing to be registered by the state as a hemp operation for the sake of growing it. As soon as you're the person who is rendering that hemp product, let's say it's a true below 0.3% THC hemp product, you don't need a state license. So to be the person who's rendering it and possibly adding, chemicals from who knows what, dangerous corner of the, of the world of toxins into it, none of that is actually protected or regulated or anything when it gets to that level of hemp, which is interesting too, Where does that line end up coming in, which, you guys obviously in reporting this have done it for longer than I think you might have a little bit more perspective on that.
All conspiracy. That's how they get you.
I don't know if we have any perspective. Go ahead, Dale. Yeah.
Well, no, it's conspiracy. Because if you're growing a plant and the intent is to harvest it and sell it into the illegal market as marijuana, and, they got you for the same penalties they got you for if you're actually growing marijuana at the time they get you. And then they tag on the environmental crimes, because I'm going to, at dollars to donuts, there's illegal pesticides out there and other shit like that. They've been stealing water. And that just adds on additional felonies to you. So they'll get you. Who they're going to get, they typically tag this on to some poor farm worker there. I was in the joint with way too many of them. They're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they got hit with 10, 15, 20 pieces for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
And we are back, you guys. We are back, you guys. And coming up next, we have Mr. Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale Schaefer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they are ratchet AF, and he's honest and he's unconcerned with public opinions, and especially yours. And he will tell you how that he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. And here is none other your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at the law office of none other than Dale Schaefer.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tio Loco again, and my story this morning comes out of MJ Biz Daily. And the headline is Aurora Cannabis pays $215 million to acquire MedLeaf Therapeutics. Now, when I read this, I thought, wow, someone's paying money for a cannabis company. As I read further into it, it turns out that Aurora's a Canadian company on their stock exchange, and MedLeaf Therapeutics is a New Zealand company. And the money they're making is coming from Europe and Australia and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
No mention in there about the United States, okay, which I found interesting because, I mean, this is not a biggest acquisition we've ever seen. It's $215 million, $125 million in cash, $90 million in Aurora common stock. But it seems that these companies have been making some money. Okay? MedLeaf had $78 million in revenues, and I don't know if these were net revenues because this is a short story. I'm hoping, and that Aurora had increased its revenues by 39%. Net revenues are $244 million. So it seems that around the world, there are places that are doing this better than us. Oh, I'm shocked, because the United States, we just talked about local control. That's a mess everywhere. It's still against federal law. And unlike a lot of the rest of the world, they don't have their head stuck up their ass about the dangers of marijuana. Okay? So they're not trapped in the mindset that we don't want this to happen or, the children and can't have any of these products. They're not stuck there. It looks like they're actually able to make some money. But this is medical. Okay? And around Europe, they're still fighting over whether medical is going to be the predominant mechanism to get this through, whether they're going to bring in adult use. I don't know. But it did strike me that other places besides the United States seem to be doing fairly well. In the United States, when we see numbers like this, it's typically somebody is suing some group or some individual for this amount of money rather than, we're buying the company. Because there's a lot of parts of the United States where the value of these businesses is not very much. In fact, you can't hardly give them away. So I'm going to throw this back at you for your discussions and comment, but I think the rest of the world is beginning to eat our lunch.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be possible, but real fast, and I hate to do this, Dale, a breaking story, because I tried to click the link where your story was, and it's redirected just to the MJ Biz story. Apparently, MJ Biz reported this inaccurately. Look
at that little correction.
They say MJ Biz reported, so this from Cannabis Business Times, MJ Biz reported on June 18th, as well as investing.com. So you're not alone. They're a big website did this.
You're right. MJ Biz Daily basically took their whole thing down.
Well, they should probably issue a retraction instead of just taking it down if they really want to do the journalism part of this job. It was an article that was generated by AI. So Aurora is confirming, because I was looking for the headline as well this morning. I just found it literally 2 seconds while you were reading your story. Aurora Cannabis denies second false news report of acquisition of MedLeaf Therapeutics. But I do think it's really important to look at who is buying what and where and in what market, because there's a lot of money being exchanged. And while we may think that, American owned is still being American owned, that is not always the case. And I'm not saying it has to be an America first policy. That's not.
Yeah, it does. America first.
I love America, but I also love healthy competition. I'm really excited to see where global markets go. Just wanted to get this out there real fast before we put any bad information out there. It's no fault of yours, Dale. They just released this retraction just now.
Can you put that article in our Discord, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
And it was an AI generated article, which is even more, hey, if you're a news organization, And I'm not saying MJ Business was an AI generated article. I don't know. But apparently the investing.com article was. The AI cannot do all fact checking, guys.
Well, it'd be nice to have some hint that it's an AI generated, story.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing that I went to MJ Biz Daily. I went through a bunch of different articles. Okay, this one caught my attention. No indication that they're having some, bot write this. And that's concerning to me because we go to what we think are reliable sources for stuff like that. But I mean, that's a separate issue. I don't know. We're going to fix that today. But if there's business being done out there outside the United States, and it seems like they're more positive about where they're going than what we are in the United States. I don't think we have a real positive North Star here in the United States for cannabis. It's a higgledy-piggledy mess. And I mean, if I'm advising people where to invest money, it's not in the United States right now. I'd hold on to that, or I'd go someplace else where you can really get a little more transparency and government cooperation.
If people are looking for good investments, they should reach out to me because I have a couple hell of investments that all have to do with energy production that would be extremely lucrative for different individuals and whatnot. So just throwing that out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And JBiz should have printed a retraction, not a takedown. And then I think that's what's got a little bit more under my skin than.
They're actually working on it right now, but the AI program's going a little slow, but that's going to give them the proper retraction right there.
It's probably got
You just
the
have to
same
give them, seed it with the original article, tell them whoops, and then say, please give me a new output.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Someone just texted me an article that just came out. Speaking of all these little updates, Sean, in regards with my story, and this is the first one, Dale, that actually acknowledges the DEA going to a reservation. It says the site under investigation reportedly located on the land belonging to the Torres Martinez Desert Chihuahua Indians. And the DEA confirmed the mission was not related to immigration enforcement, but part of a large-scale investigation on marijuana grows in the area. And a local witness that spoke to NBC Palm Springs tells us that they believe up to 19 individuals may have been detained, although that number remains unconfirmed. And the presence of military vehicles and armed federal agents raised alarms across the community. And we already talked about that part of the thing. And very interesting, Dale. Finally, someone's admitting that it was Indian territory. One of these raids, one of these news outlets finally admitted it. So I'm glad that someone did. And how are they able to do that, Dale?
Well, I don't know, because when you look at it, who wrote it, and let me just pull it back up. MJ Biz Daily staff wrote it.
I'm gonna put
this. Which means it's AI, huh? You fucking liars.
Mm-hmm.
This is just irritating to me. Because we rely on things. And I mean, I've got a niece and a nephew who are teachers, and they're facing the same shit. People just turn stuff in. How do you know that it's not AI generated? I mean, you have to have a certain level of trust. And now, do we trust MJ Biz Daily? If they don't come and wipe this clean and apologize and fall on their sword and stop this kind of shit, then I think we need to call them out as being, these aren't journalists. These are just looking for headlines. This is not journalism.
Using it as a tool, but it is a tool. It is not the journalist. And I do want to be clear. There has been no allegation that MJ Biz used the AI. Investing.com used the AI. But if they wrote their article based on someone else's article, which happens often in news, is you get one outlet that reports something wrong, and then they all report it wrong because they're not doing journalism. They're just regurgitating information, moving as quickly as they can to try to keep up with the news of the day. But we've got to have a higher standard of accountability, not just with journalism, but to your point, Jason, bringing militarized vehicles onto an Indian reservation, that's a big no. How can they do it?
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. I'm confused as to how they do that. To me, the only way that they would be able to do that I'm trying to think, Dale, in all reality, is that they did some type of a controlled buy on the reservation, which at that part could have given them given them some type of a sign off for some judge to say that there was enough for them to be able to go off of, because the reservation is selling it knowing that it's leaving the reservation in those size of quantities. That to me is the only thing that I can think that they could come up with as far as any type of justification to tell to a federal magistrate judge.
Well, we'll see, because I'm sure attorneys are going to challenge their ability to do this, go after that warrant on Indian land, and they should. I mean, there's a doctrine out there called plain view from a lawful vantage point. If you see illegal activity, and you can move towards it. But if you know it's on land that's outside your jurisdiction, it's like, you see it in another state. You can't just go to another state and do it. And that's an analogy here. I don't know. We'll have to see as this unwinds, because I'm a bit confused too. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, they just, these people step on their dicks and go do stupid shit. And then it's like, oh, you're in front of a judge. Why'd you do that? I don't know. Well, they should hold them accountable. And the other thing I want to say about AI is, in the legal profession, some knucklehead attorneys have tried using AI, and it doesn't work out so well. Because, no AI is an attorney. They don't think like us. Okay? And you get in front of a judge, and the judge finds out that you wrote your brief with AI, it gets real quick, because they will kick your ass right there. They will kick your ass. And I mean, I would not do it. I've used AI as a tool to do some research, but then I read the cases myself, because some of the summaries they give you are like, that's from another universe. Where did this come from?
Or it thinks that the application of the law is done in this one very specific, granular way. And it's like, no, AI, I'm sorry, this is not a perfect world. It's done this way. And there's a million different offshoots that any judge in any mood could take. And you have to be able to anticipate that. So writing anything with AI as your end all be all is really you are begging for whatever happens when that ends up blowing up in your face, because your job, journalist, attorney, whatever, your job is to trust and verify. You have to do your job. You have to be the writer. You have to be the attorney. It's not plug it into a computer, kick it out, charge someone a couple $1,000s for your retainer, and then come back tomorrow and do it again.
Fair enough. And
be prepared to name your sources.
Exactly.
Because, you say, oh, my source is AI, you better bring your skibby drawers along, because you're probably going to jail for a little while.
Yes.
And I think this is a more interesting story than what Aurora is doing, although I would definitely keep my eye on that. I think it's interesting to see how technology is going to shape and influence our industry, and that we need to be smarter, better, and faster, especially because we're not just working against competitors or the government or other, haters who are trying to report you, whether you're on IG or to the DEA. You're also working up against people and tools and systems that are fundamentally broken. So step it up. You're in the cannabis industry. You should know better, do better.
Be better. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Extra relevant, if anything.
And stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com, as well as make sure that you go into the description of both live feeds of today. Check out our sponsors and make sure that you use the link in the description to order yourself a case of Liberal Tears. They'll ship it straight to your door, and I promise no snowflakes were harmed in the making of Liberal Tears.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
And we are back, you guys. Coming up next, it is our newest addition to the team, Mr. Nate Wanaker. Nate has been an advocate in the cannabis space for over 25 years and has been specializing in the testing and testing methods that everybody is always just talking about and just the rage of the community. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Nate Wanaker.
Hey, thank you, Jason, and thank you everybody for having me. I wanted to cover the article that I saw come out. Really, the whole news world and anybody who cared to report on cannabis who usually doesn't, all noticed this very alarming sounding study that supposedly had come out that we could all read from, and so from news. Cannabis use linked to doubled risk of heart disease death, new study finds. With growing marijuana use across the country, studies have looked at the link between cannabis use and cardiovascular problems, but new research is showing the magnitude of such risk. In the study, published Tuesday in the journal Heart, researchers found cannabis use is linked to a doubled risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. 29% higher risk for acute coronary syndrome and 20% higher risk for stroke. The authors analyzed data from 24 studies published from 2016 to 2023. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. Quote, our results provide a fully comprehensive report of the recent situation towards the cardiovascular health of cannabis users, the authors wrote. But there were some study limitations, including potential imprecise dosage measurements. With recreational marijuana legal in 24 states, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration is moving to reclassify the drug to a less dangerous category under the Controlled Substances Act. Daily marijuana users now outnumber daily drinkers for the first time ever, according to a Carnegie Mellon University report last year. The preference shift is largely being driven by young people. For example, 69% of people aged 18 to 24 prefer marijuana to alcohol, according to a 2022 survey by New Frontier Data, a cannabis research firm. About time. Due to increased usage, the perception of risk around marijuana has declined, health experts Dr. Lynn Silver of the Public Health Institute and Stanton Glantz, emeritus professor of the University of California, San Francisco, wrote in an editorial note that was published alongside the research. But the results of the study highlight the potential health effects. In the note, the authors called for the drug to be, quote, treated like tobacco, not criminalized, but discouraged, unquote, including added protection of bystanders from secondhand exposure. They also called for more research on whether cardiovascular risks are limited to inhaled products, which made up the majority of cases in the meta-analysis, or extend to other forms of cannabis exposure. Now, there's two things here that I picked up on, being obviously somebody who's very much in favor. Apologize, my iPad just went loony for a second. Okay, I'm back. Two things that I found that were kind of interesting on this. One, this is no new information that came here. This was really just a study of studies. This was a review of numerous papers that had come out across several years and ending in 2023. No new data went into this. This was all based on existing data, which when you look into the studies and what they were able to scrape in terms of what was common from, all these different studies, there are certain things that were not looked at. And one of the things is this. This isn't a surprise to learn that smoking is unhealthy. And that's really what's being studied here from this array of research and papers that was studied in order to come up with this. The majority, as it mentioned, really in the last two sentences, the majority of people are going to be smoking. Smoking is known in general as an unhealthy act. Cannabis itself is not this toxic nightmare that we've seen across other concerns like alcohol and tobacco. In fact, smoking anything, you could smoke virtually any item in your household, and trust me, you're not going to be better off in health for it right there. Most things are not meant to be inhaled. That doesn't mean that it's bad. That doesn't mean that that's your only way of being able to take it in. In fact, even the spectrum of smoking when it comes down to vaporizing and all of the various fairly clean and pure oil-based products that are out there seem to be something that should also impact this, even though they're not the majority of the industry. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about that. The other side of things is that when you consider a spread this large of information, the failure to be able to report things like edible users or edible usage, and not make that clear in the article, in my opinion, and I just chose the CBS News one right here. They're literally, and just to the same ideas that we said that we were talking about before, where when one news organization picks up on something, you see this wave of other news organizations all reporting on it. I read through half a dozen versions of the same article, and a lot of fear mongering really across the world of reporting on cannabis. Not very much saying, hey, edible users, this really doesn't apply to you. These studies didn't really even cover what the concerns were. And all we're really doing is attaching the fact that it's not great for your heart if you smoke things, which, sorry to, recycle old information, but I feel like everybody sitting here and everybody listening is probably already aware of that. What do you guys think?
I think this is a whole bunch of propaganda by these doctors, and they're all just trying to use scare tactics to try to slow down
this reclassification. It's almost like, a bunch of influencers feeling like this is their chance for engagement. You know what I mean?
It's not science, that's for damn sure.
That's right.
This is the old correlation versus cause argument. And when you take a look at the numbers, and you have tens of thousands dying, every month from tobacco and alcohol. And then you go way down the line and you find, we see that go from 1 to 2 having a heart problem, and in there where they smoke marijuana. And so there's got to be, it's like, just stop it. Do a study. Okay? This is where the DEA needs to get its head out of its ass and authorize some studies where you take a look at people who use cannabis on a regular basis and work them up from a cardiologist standpoint, find out what's it doing. And more importantly, I want to know what's the pathophysiological mechanism. This is where I used to fuck up these experts when I was in trial. I'd stick them in the witness chair. I say, please explain to the jury the pathophysiological mechanism by which you say this happened. Now, I don't care about your bullshit numbers. I want you to explain to us, how does this work? And Nate, you're right. Smoking anything is if we had to give advice, you wouldn't do that. Okay. But what about tinctures? What about suppositories? What about edibles? All these kinds of things. Are they causing these same problems? Because if not, and I think this is just a whole lot of smoke being blown up people's asses right now.
And not to mention they've been lying about cannabis for so many years. You know what I mean? Why are we supposed to believe them now? You know what I mean?
No.
And why not tell the whole story? Like, it's okay to say that smoking isn't healthy, but that this isn't, obviously in reviewing all of these stories, then all of this reporting on the topic, people really couldn't be, arsed out to actually indicate that this has to do with smoking and not with the general safety of cannabis. And without actually reviewing that, and with trying to put it into the same bucket as other harmful substances, I mean, you're not doing anybody any favors, let alone the vast number of people who don't have easy access to cannabis, who ought to, and who are just one step further away now from understanding that this could actually really help them out.
Yeah, they're
It's a large
making
portion of this, Jason. Are we back on the cardiovascular study that was done where they're saying that any method of cannabis consumption leads to cardiovascular risk?
Yep, we are. Lots
What
of
did we say
BS.
last time we read this story? That is bullshit.
Yeah, it's all
Like,
total
this
bullshit.
is absolutely ridiculous. And right now, what we need is less prohibitionist propaganda and a little bit more scientific fact. And so the fact that we're even pushing this through, like, we all know that combusting something and inhaling it into your lungs is not good for you. Stop it, bop it. We know, stupid. Good job.
And Jen, this is actually, this recent one is actually a combination of other studies. So it's not new information. If anything, it's really just kind of jumping onto the potential rescheduling as a controlled substance and what concerns they can possibly churn up in the news cycle that, who knows what their end goal is. But it certainly, as he pointed out, it certainly isn't anything scientific.
Well, we know. Kevin Sabet, stop it. Stop it, Kevin Sabet.
Well, his USAID money is running out, so you know what I mean? Hopefully these stories will stop
so
pretty
maybe
soon.
he'll putter to a stop, but I doubt he's going to stop it. That means he's going to be privately consulting for people.
How much money do you get for doing a summary of a bunch of other studies? Like, where's the science behind that? And when we look at how these other studies are conducted, they admit themselves that there are issues with their scientific process, that they didn't even follow it. They had no knowledge of dosing. Like, it's insane that we're regurgitating these old studies, most of them funded by the government or the DEA with specific outcomes in mind, and then we're going to regurgitate them, call that a new study, and give people money for this? This is not science.
Leah Patrick in the chat, she says it's great for lung health, and I personally agree with Miss Leah Patrick in that. It's actually really good because it's a way that you can visualize how deep you can breathe in and out.
Used to sell weed as a bronchial dilator for asthma.
Exactly.
It works. We're not talking about COPD and other lung problems here. I mean, nicotine's a vasoconstrictor, so we can a direct path to nicotine and cardiovascular problems because it's a vasoconstrictor. Causes, I mean, some of this stuff. If you have an ounce of science in you, you just wonder, like Sean said, who in the fuck is funding this stuff?
We all know it's
Who's telling Kevin that other thing other than just take a long walk off a short bridge, you ignorant son of a bitch.
A lot of it is from our tax dollars, from that USAID that has now been defunded, thank goodness. But on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
And we are back, you guys. And coming up next is Miss Sean Savaje. She's a mom, she's a veteran, and she's a court mediator. That's right. She is none other than Miss Sean Savaje.
Yay. I'll try to keep you out of court. That's my job. Keep out of court.
Dale's going to keep you in court.
Oh, Dale, keep you in court. I want to get the hell out of there. That place is not fun. Okay, my story comes from my other home state. Don't mind if the accent comes through, even though I was a military trained broadcaster. Every now and then you get a little Texas twang or you get a little Minnesota ohs and ahs. We're coming from the Star Tribune. Minnesota's legal weed market is finally going to get rolling as its first license is issued. The OCM announced Wednesday that oh my goodness, the Star Trib just cut off my accent. Not my accent, my access too. So apparently this is gonna be behind a paywall. I'll have to log in.
Oh, here, hold on a second. Sean, just so you know, as a thing, we have a thing in here for that.
Help me! I had the story up and they lit it.
You should always paste it, copy paste it, and put it to a Word document.
Let me see if I think I have a subscription.
Hold on a second. No. We have a thing that we use here to help us with paywalls, and you can use it as well. And I'll tell you how to use it after the show. It's inside. It's inside of our Discord.
I'm logged in. I got the story for you. So Minnesota issued its first cannabis business license on Wednesday. You can go ahead and share that link though, Jason. I bet a lot of people would be happy to have it. Minnesota issued its first cannabis business license on Wednesday, a moment entrepreneurs and consumers have been waiting for since the state legalized marijuana for recreational use nearly 2 years ago. A Pine County business, HerbQuest, received a social equity license, which is intended to help veterans, individuals who've been harmed by cannabis prohibition, and those who live in areas of high poverty enter the legal marijuana industry. With our first licensed cultivator now able to begin growing plants and more than 600 businesses within the final steps of completing their applications and securing approvals from local governments, we are now seeing the first pieces of Minnesota's adult use market fall into place, said Eric Taubel, the interim director of the OCM, in a news release. HerbQuest is a micro business, so interesting to see the first license go to a micro business. I'd like that. Tip of the hat to you, Minnesota. It's a micro business in Brook Park that will now be allowed to grow, process, and sell marijuana products on a small scale. Its initial focus will be in outdoor cultivation, according to the agency. Brian Coonrad, the business owner who received the license, he did not immediately respond to requests for comment, probably because he's pretty fucking busy trying to set up his shop and his op. HerbQuest's approval comes almost 2 weeks after OCM held the first licensing lotteries. We saw how that was kind of a disaster when they talked about people got them, they didn't get them, and chaos everywhere. They had 776 applicants competing for only 249 licenses. Retailer licenses will be awarded to general applicants in the July 22nd lottery. The OCM also announced that it will open an application window for cannabis testing facilities on August 1st to obtain licenses while they move through the accreditation process. We wanted to provide a shorter runway for labs who wish to enter Minnesota's cannabis market in an essential way, while also helping other cannabis business owners open up and get running with safe tested products. Okay, because in my head, I was wondering, why are we doing the testing after the fact? Shouldn't those kind of happen simultaneously? But understood. They're trying to help rack and stack it. I'm not against it. OCM also plans on August 1st to start accepting applications for cannabis event organizer licenses, which will authorize the holder to plan and host cannabis-related events. Other licenses are likely soon to follow. The White Earth Band of Chippewa, which is a tribe, last month signed a cannabis compact with the state and Chippewa Indians, for those who are unaware, and opened its first retail marijuana dispensary outside of tribal lands in Moorhead, that's near Wisconsin, over Memorial Day weekend. Taubel said earlier this month he expects Governor Tim Walz's administration to finalize similar agreements with other tribes. Let's go. Yay for the tribes. You can go smoke weed and play at the casinos. According to OCM data, as of Wednesday, 706 businesses have preliminary approval, and most of them are micro businesses in the final stages of authorization. So you guys can use that link that Jason's going to give to you to access the Star Trib and read the story.
Oh, no, they can read it on our website at www.high9news.com. That's where they're supposed to go, Sean. They're not supposed to go anywhere else.
Read it on the website. Jason's got you. Jason,
yes, we got you. I've already sent it over to our guys since it was behind a paywall. So then that way they have the full write-up. They know what to put up on the thing and everything, and everybody gets their credit and all that good stuff.
You can read that story, but I'm going to toss it back out to you guys after some of the hiccups that Minnesota had a few weeks ago. It's good to see someone get a license. Hopefully we'll see more soon. And I'm never going to be sad about the tribes getting priority on that.
Sounds like to me, Sean, now that they've issued this first license, it sounds like tomorrow we're going to probably be covering a lawsuit that gets filed in Minnesota in relation with someone that didn't get one of these licenses. Right, Dale?
Or they're going to raid the tribes. Who knows?
We have a project in Minnesota right now, and it's been a roller coaster ride trying to figure this shit out. The rules are not as extensive they are here in California. They still haven't figured this out. These lotteries are just a disaster, no matter where they are. It never seems to work out well. So we're going to wait and see.
The philosophy behind the lotteries. Like, I understand the theory and everything, but we know that in practicality, it doesn't work that way. An open market allows everybody to come in. You're going to see the big flood at first, and then the ones who aren't going to make it are going to very quickly fall off. Why are we still doing it this way?
I don't know. You'd think they'd learn from us, but they definitely haven't learned. And you're right. My philosophy is let everybody go out there and try. Half of businesses fail in the first 5 years. That's just, starting point. And because this is such a weird industry, more than half are going to fail. But the ones that make it will make it because they run a good business. We still have this philosophy of the hog farm and kumbaya, and let's just all do me a solid. No, this is business. You need to pay for what you buy. You need to do it efficiently, take care of the people that work for you. That's the fundamentals of running a business. But this is all just, it's crazy. I don't even have an answer for it, because every place you remind them, hey, California already screwed this up the same way.
Yeah.
We're going to do it our own way. Well,
but it's not really their way.
No, it's not. There aren't that many different ways to do it. This plant grows the same way wherever you grow it. Only turn it into certain products, no matter what you do to it. Okay? Yeah, well, I mean, there are places that are, when this is all legal, there'll be places where it's going to be grown more efficiently because it's a better environment. You won't, no one's going to waste time growing under lights because it's too goddamn expensive. But
bullshit.
Taking the cannabinoids out, there's chemical processes to do it, then you can test it. It's just not rocket science once you learn how to do it. And why they just won't listen. And I mean, I've just, I'm pretty blunt with these city councils and supervisors when I talk to them. Don't pass laws you can't enforce, and look at where we screwed it up and try to learn from us. And then they just still do it. So I don't know what to say.
And we'll shout out to the C word who just sent us in a super chat who says, SF Hash Week is nearly here. Cork sniffers are welcome. Oh man, shout out to everyone that's going to attend SF Hash Week. Thank you so much to C-Word. We always appreciate all your support.
And shout out to everybody in the chat that missed me while I was gone for a minute. I love you guys too.
Jenny Beth always making it about herself. That's
Mama's home. Well, shut the fuck up, Jason. You saw the chat too?
Tell him, girl.
You saw the chat, did you not?
What did the chat say, Jenny? I didn't see it.
Show's not the shame without JBD. We miss you when you're gone. The C-Word said, I make a Jenny Beth doll that I set beside my phone for times when you're not here. Maybe I'm kidding. Maybe I'm not. Jenny. Jason Beck said she's back. Leah Patrick said JBD with a green heart. Gwen Barney said there she is. Pepper Plug said Jenny's ran back in. Heart eyes. We want me to keep going? Or are we good?
I mean, this is hilarious. This is hysterical. You know what I'm saying? This is hysterical right now. Just
sounds like you're being stalked, Jenny Beth.
Exactly.
Maybe we should go into
she loves it. She's all about this. She's all about the attention.
I just want to know what the C-Word's little Jenny Beth doll looks like. That's all.
I was going to offer to sell him some of your hair.
Oh my God. Jason and I once shared an apartment for a couple months while after I moved out of mine before my place here was ready, and we were both moving to Orange County. And yes, I shed, and Jason
She does.
cries.
She sheds a lot, and I hate shedding. It's
pull it out of your drain, right?
It's just on the floor and freaking in the sink, and just like what the fuck? Fucking clean up after yourself.
Well, I have something to throw out there.
Learn to deal with it, dude. You learn to deal with it.
Let me give a little bit of reflection on the article that was read right there too. It's just a little kind of sideways thing, and I think it might just be a little bit of a tangent to go on with you guys in terms of how stuff is supposed to work. As you mentioned, Sean, the idea of rolling out testing at the same time as products. You think that those things go hand in hand. When they don't, you understand, the notion behind doing it. But then obviously at some point, safety or regulation meets safety kind of idea. That concept needs to catch up. How does that work? And so we saw this happen a couple of times, I feel like, in the 2010s in Colorado, where for the most part, the systems were allowed to roll, or excuse me, the companies were allowed to roll out their products. Testing existed, but I remember there being, and there are, I think, a couple of people in this forum too that maybe have a little bit closer experience than I am, just going from it on a third hand at best. But there were a couple of instances with both when they rolled out micro and you had certain concerns with mold bacteria. And there was another one with pesticides. And what ended up being found out was that there were a whole bunch of products that were on the market that weren't eligible for being on the market. And I want to say, and again, my memory, this was years ago, my memory on it could be totally broken, but I want to say like roughly a third of the product when they rolled out micro wasn't eligible for the market anymore. So it brings up a couple of questions. One, was everybody just consuming micro-infested stuff? Yeah, a third of it, was being consumed at that point. All right, that maybe wasn't the best bet, but what is the right idea? What should, do you guys think, a regulator do if they have what's in the best interest of both the companies and the people? I'm a testing guy. I'm super biased. I think that testing needs to exist right from the get-go. Demonstrated by what happened in Colorado. You can't just roll something out and then expect everything to fall into place when the plane's already flying, right? Like that doesn't work. Where would you guys go with that?
I agree with you because we've seen this happen in a couple different states where they let the operators go and then they don't have any testing labs. And if you can't actually structurally set up the testing lab, then you stage it to happen later on. And then as you get towards that later on, and we're starting to have harvests and you're starting to actually want to put product on shelves, and you don't have functional labs, then what? Like, I understand trying to stagger it so that way the government can maybe keep up, but I think that they need to hire more people and streamline this process. Maybe there's too much paper pushing happening in between, and it's making it hard to actually do things right. There's definitely a way that we need to reevaluate this, whether it comes to the lottery licensing or opening testing facilities after things have already started. Like it doesn't make a ton of sense, especially I would imagine they're cheaper to start than large scale grow operations or even a micro business.
You're going to tout this as being safe, and you better have a COA to show that it's not contaminated with biologicals and chemicals, because biologicals are ubiquitous. And Bell Costa, that was one of the issues they had there. But there's mold in this stuff. You can't get rid of it. If you don't store it properly, you're going to have it come back. But at some point, you test it for the biologicals. It could be a problem for the chemicals you use to convert it. Pesticides, for fertilizers, things like that. I mean, that would be the minimum level that you can look someone in the eye who buys it off the shelf. This has been tested and it contains levels that are at or below what we find to be acceptable. That should be the starting point for all this stuff.
Well, speaking of the starting points, I found another happy story, Jenny Beth, to end the show on.
Oh, fuck yeah, Jason. I'm really proud of you, little buddy. And also the
really
chat said, Jason, don't do that. We love Jenny.
Do what? I didn't do what?
For shit.
Do what? I'm going to give Jenny shit all day, every day. That's fucking part of her fucking duties.
Hey, Jason, make sure I'm alive every day. So
yeah, I did. I had to do that this morning. Just, hey, are you alive? Text me back. Let me know you're alive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But if girls shedding hair bothers you, dude, I don't know.
It's not just girls. It's all hair. It's universal. It's pet hair, every hair, all of it bugs the shit out of me.
Well, it's okay, Jason. We won't talk about your habits that bug people.
That's fine. I get it.
Help you, dude.
I don't believe in therapy, Dale. I think that's a bunch of malarkey.
That's pretty obvious to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a bunch of.
Jason, you should see a therapist. I'll pay for it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Tell us a happy story, Jason Beck.
Well, Jenny Beth, you're going to love this because New York, they dropped $5 million in grants to kickstart cannabis businesses for justice-impacted entrepreneurs, you guys. Well,
Yeah.
that's right. New York is making waves in its booming $1 billion cannabis market by rolling out a $5 million grant program to help marijuana businesses owned by justice-impacted individuals get off the ground. Announced on June 18, 2025, the first round of the Conditional Adult Use Retail Dispensary, better known as the CURD, grant program awarded 52 dispensaries up to $30,000 each to cover startup costs like rent, renovations, and security systems. With equity at its core, the move is turning heads and opening doors. And here's the electrifying story. Because the CURD program, run by the Office of Cannabis Management, the OCM, and the Empire State Development, the ESD, targets entrepreneurs hit by marijuana-related convictions, requiring them to have experience running profitable businesses. These grants are about more than dollars and cents, and they are about investing in the people and communities who are helping to build New York's cannabis market the right way, said Felicia A.B. Reed, OCM's acting executive director. The funds awarded on a first-come, first-served basis support 52 licenses across cities like Buffalo, Brooklyn, and Plattsburgh, with over 100 more in line for future grants. Senator Jeremy Cooney, a Democrat, chair of the Senate Subcommittee on Cannabis, hailed the program's impact and says the CURD grant program is an important step in this process, putting money directly in the hands of local dispensary owners to help grow their businesses and set them up for sustained success. The initiative builds on New York's Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, the MRTA, which prioritizes equity by reserving 50% of licenses for justice-involved minority or women-owned businesses. But it's not all smooth sailing because critics, including the NAACP, New York State Conference, and NYC Normal, blasted regulators in December of 2024 for favoring corporate interest over small businesses, citing the ousting of OCM's first chief, Chris Alexander. Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Democrat, noted that CURD licenses are struggling under high-cost loans and pushing for more aid. The grants aim to ease these burdens, covering expenses from $10,000 to $30,000 like inventory, tracking, and insurance. And New York's cannabis market launched in late 2022 and hit $1 billion in sales in January of 2025 with $370 million in 2024 alone. The OCM data, according to OCM's data, and the state's 1,726 licensed businesses face fierce competition from illicit shops, prompting the OCM's Buy Legal campaign and a new online map guide that guide consumers to licensed retailers. And with 74% of Americans in legal cannabis per the Pew Research poll and 70% backing legalization, New York's equity-focused grants could inspire other states as more awards roll out. This program is a lifeline for justice-impacted entrepreneurs, proving the Empire State is serious about building a fair cannabis future. Well, this is what I have. I think this is great news, and so I don't want to poo-poo on it, but I'm just going to say this. The fact that they are putting way more money into all of these services that they're going to be giving illegal immigrants in New York over American citizens that have these cannabis licenses, I think is a little absurd, but I am happy for all the people that are going to get it, and I don't think $30,000 is enough. I think they should be getting a lot more, personally, because it's just these things are expensive to operate, they're expensive to start up, and all of those other types of things in relation with that. So I just think it's totally ridiculous, but I'm really glad for the people that are going to get awarded it, and I hope that it helps them succeed overall.
Yeah, when you said
I hope they have something to dig into these businesses to make sure that this equity applicant isn't just a figurehead or a straw man. See who's actually, the tail wagging the dog here. Because that's what my experience is. They put someone out there that qualifies, we own 51%, but in reality, they don't have shit to say about how the business is run. You're right, $30,000 is nothing.
No, 100%. And and unfortunately, that's a large percentage of social equity operators are not operating anything other than the pen that it took them to sign their name on that application. That's why I pulled off as a minority female owner in a New Jersey opportunity. I was like, okay, first of all, I have all the operational knowledge. I have all the history in this industry. I'm teaching you guys what the fuck is up. but you want to make sure that you control day-to-day operations, and I don't in a business that my name is on because we're going to get preferential processing because I'm Black and a woman. Go fuck yourself and shove this up your ass, Chris. What's his name? But anyhow,
get him, Jenny. Get him.
It's very frustrating, but like any money is good money, right? Like I'll take it. It's
yeah. No,
$5,
that's what I'm saying.
$5 more than I had
great.
10 minutes ago, right?
I think it's great. It's just not enough. That's all.
It's not enough, but it's still more than I had a few minutes ago. But it needs to make sure that it's going to the right operators. You look at Kareem Webb. Kareem Webb is now, if you're in LA, you need to fucking pay attention because your wonderful mayor, Queen Karen Bass, put his ass over the airport administration after he had a institution called the Fourth Movement. Fourth Movement went out and found a bunch of people and had them essentially do like a Hunger Games type, you're here when I tell you to be here, you do this, you show up for all the PR stuff of social equity applicants in the LADCR market, right? So at that point, Kareem opened 2 dispensaries, 64 in Hope, and I can't believe what the other one in Hope, for some people that he had a very preferential relationship with. The other people lost their fucking grant. He took them, he ran away with them. So if he's stealing those little $50,000 social equity grants, imagine what he's doing to the airport commission where you see Boeings falling apart all day on the fucking runway. Pay attention, guys. This is why it matters in your community, whether you care about cannabis or not. It matters who we're electing and it matters who they're in bed with because all they've ever done as a family is run a Buffalo Wild Wings. So that being said, all of that grant money was stolen. You know who should take that cross and bear it and go ahead and file that lawsuit against him? The city of LA, because he stole from the city of LA. What did the city of LA do? Put him in a position to steal more.
Yep.
I'll shut up. I'll get off my soapbox. But you guys, pay the fuck attention.
Go for it, Sean.
I was just going to say 5 million. If 5 million is the total number, that ain't shit in New York. It's
exactly.
So
exactly.
30 blow through that in one day.
30 grand could be there just a 1 month's rent.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's 1 month's overhead. Not
I
even
have a $30,000
retainer. That could be my retainer.
Exactly, Dale. Exactly.
You ain't gonna get far with
you can
that.
work with me, and it could be both of our retainers. You take a 20, I'll take a 10, and we'll call it a day and work together.
There you go. There you go. I share, girl. Don't worry, I share. I don't care about
that. Imagine if you pay one retainer and get me and Dale.
Oh.
I'll do the documents. Dale does the arguing, the pissing up the rope.
Oh boy. Any thoughts on this, Nate? Before we close out.
Nothing to add. Just marveling at broken systems.
Yep. Gotta love it.
Sorry for naming all the names, Jason, but you know that I'm not going to fucking pull punches.
I ain't got no problem with that. LA is a big shit show, and I like the fact that you called her Queen Bass. I think that was super appropriate, especially with what was happening last weekend.
Yeah, no Queen's Day.
Yes. And
she wrote in on, right, Jenny?
No, you know, the thing is, because all the Democrats were calling it No King's Day, but the reality of it is that the Democrats appointed a queen in Kamala Harris because she was totally unelected to run for president and had absolutely 0 votes, and so we as trolling, we called it No Queen's Day. And that's where that came from. And, Karen Bass, you know what I'm saying? She likes to be a dictator, too. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us. And
haircut can't be fucking governor of anything or mayor of anything. Done.
What?
Nothing.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. And we do want to apologize for our technical difficulties today. We are working to make this thing all better for you guys. And so we do appreciate you guys sticking with us through all of that. Thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution, Tested, and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai out there in the metaverse. I got it right today, I think. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.